Q and Review, celebrating 40 years of audio production, welcomes you to this week's edition of the Glasgow Times Sports podcast, recorded from our studio in the Bishopbriggs Media Centre and by our volunteers working from home. Keep up to date with Q and Review news via our Facebook, X, formerly known as Twitter, or Instagram at Q and Review. That's @CUEANDREVIEW, or get in touch with us directly by emailing information@qandreview.com. That's INFORMATION @CUEANDREVIEW.com, or by calling us on 0141 772 3979. Please like and share our podcast and give us constructive feedback.
Evening Times Sport, August 20. Fans organise tribute for former boxing champion Willie Lemond. Report by Kirsty Feerick. Fans have organised a touching tribute for former boxing champion Willie Lemond. A charity football match will take place this Sunday to remember the 45-year-old who tragically died this year. We previously reported how the athlete was found in an unresponsive state in a car in Coatbridge amid preparations for a fight. The fighter, who started out as a footballer at Albion Rovers, was taken to Monklands Hospital in April with his condition critical, but passed away 9 days later. The father of three, who grew up in Garthamlock in Glasgow's East End, was also described as an infectious character. Now an Albion Rovers fans 11 will take on Jags for Good, a Partick Thistle fans team, at Lochburn Park, home of Maryhill Football Club, to remember Willie. All proceeds will go to Scottish Autism and Shelter Scotland, two causes selected in consultation with the Lemond family. Kick-off is scheduled for 4 p.m, following the conclusion of the Partick Thistle women's clash with Glasgow City. Former Albion Rovers player Paul Kearney, who also represented Partick Thistle, Hibs and Kilmarnock, has been confirmed to play for the Albion Rovers Fan 11. He will be joined by fellow former Partick player Scott Chaplin, who will also be playing for the Albion Rovers Fan 11, while more legends are set to be announced over the coming days. A spokesperson for the Albion Rovers fans has said, "We are delighted that Jags for Good have agreed to take us on in this clash in order to raise money for two outstanding causes that help issues that were very close to Willie's heart. We would like to thank Maryhill Football Club for their support in making sure this event goes smoothly." A spokesperson for Jags for Good added, "We are delighted to be taking on the Albion Rovers Fans 11 in memory of Willie, and we hope to see as many people come out and show their support for two outstanding causes." Willie took up the sport at the age of 6 and fought a life-changing high-profile fight with Amir Khan in London in 2007, which he lost. Lemond made his professional boxing debut in 1999 and won 42 of his 48 fights and raised two sons who are also boxers. Lemond was due to take on Joe Laws at Glasgow's Emirates Arena in May in a show organised by the St Andrews Club, with his son, unbeaten professional Jake Lemond, on the undercard. Another son, Drew, is an amateur boxer who has fought for Scotland. The comeback fight was the first clash scheduled since September 2023 after Limond was stopped by Ricky Burns in the former world champion's farewell bout. Former Albion Rovers player Limond reportedly suffered a seizure and died in Monklands Hospital, prompting tributes from ex-opponents. Laws wrote on social media that he was absolutely devastated, while former world champion Anthony Crolla described him as one of the best men I ever met. The fixture is pay at the gate with tickets available from £8 for adults, while under-16s go free. Report by Kirsty Feerick. Evening Times Sport, August 20. Rangers ban 4 fans following incident. Report by Robbie Hanratty. Rangers have issued indefinite bans for 4 fans in response to an incident that occurred before their Premier Sports Cup match against St Johnstone. Prior to the game at Hampden Park on Saturday afternoon, a 51-year-old woman who serves as the supporter liaison officer for the Perth club was assaulted and robbed of a possession. Police Scotland reported that a 22-year-old man has been arrested and charged in connection with the incident. Additionally, 2 more arrests were made following a separate disturbance that erupted shortly after the initial event. A Rangers spokesperson confirmed the details and said, "Rangers can confirm it has issued indefinite bans to 4 individuals as inquiries continue following the incident outside Hampden Park on Saturday. Rangers have reached out to the St Johnstone employee to check on their well-being and to apologise on behalf of the club. We abhor and condemn all incidents like this in the strongest terms and continue to support Police Scotland with their ongoing investigation." The woman who was targeted provided an update on X stating, "Thank you for all your support and kindness. Humbled." Report by Robbie Hanratty. Evening Times Sport, August 20. Scottish Ambulance Service say sorry for delayed women's football injury response. Report by Robbie Hanratty. The Scottish Ambulance Service has expressed regret for the delay and any distress caused after Partick Thistle's Courtney Stewart experienced a nearly 3-hour wait for an ambulance following a head injury during a match against Rangers. Stewart, who has since been released from hospital and reported to be awake, alert and talking, suffered a seizure after going down in the 10th minute of the Scottish Women's Premier League fixture at Broadwood Stadium on Sunday, which Rangers ultimately won 4-0. Medical staff from Rangers and first aider responders provided immediate care on the field before Stewart was moved to the dressing room. She was eventually transported to Queen Elizabeth University Hospital in Glasgow at around 5 p.m, several hours after the incident occurred. A Scottish Ambulance Service statement read, "We would like to apologise for the delay and for any distress caused to the patient. Unfortunately, at the time of the call, we were experiencing pressure on our services due to high demand and protracted turnaround times at hospitals. A clinical advisor kept in regular contact with the patient, and we hope she is recovering well." Stewart wrote a heartfelt thank you on social media and said, "I just wanted to make a personal post about yesterday. Firstly, I'd like to say a massive thank you to absolutely everybody for all the lovely messages of support, but an even bigger thank you to all the staff at Rangers Women and at Broadwood Stadium. Not all heroes wear capes. They sometimes wear the Partick Thistle badge, and go by the name Alana McPherson. So the biggest thanks to you, Gero, and everyone at Party Thistle. I'll be back doing what I love most soon. Sending love and well wishes to Laura Rafferty also. Apologies for the black eye, Gero. Scotland captain Rachel Corsie and former Glasgow City star Leanne Crichton debated the issue on Behind the Goals podcast, following comments from Graham suggesting it would not be allowed to happen in the men's game. Said Corsie, I obviously listened to what Brian had to say, and you can tell he's passionate, because obviously he cares for his players. But I also just think we have to be mindful of how we probably articulate that, because for me, I know he touches on the men's game and other things, and that message sometimes gets misheard, because I know a lot of people jump on that, and it winds some people up. It triggers door people to then go down a rabbit hole of talking about revenue. Whereas I think it's paramount we speak about what the players need to make sure players can safely play the sport, and it is an elite level. There are teams that are professional, semi-professional. We're working towards that being across the board more comprehensively. We need to just know what the right standards are. Crichton then chimed in to explain why she felt it was not just a problem area that only the women's game was immune to. And she said, I don't necessarily think it's helpful comparing the men's and women's game, because I'm not entirely sure that an incident like that would not have happened at a men's game across Scotland, because without a crowd capacity, there's no enforcement of an ambulance. Report by Robbie Hanratty. Evening Times Sport, August 20. SPFL teams to feature in 2024 Fair Game Index. Report by Robbie Hanratty. Football fans across Scotland are eagerly awaiting the release of the 2024 Fair Game Index, which promises to reveal how SPFL teams measure up against the best-run football clubs in the United Kingdom for the first time. Set to be released at midnight on Thursday, August 22, this year's index marks a significant expansion, now including 206 clubs, up from 92 last year. For the first time, the analysis will encompass the top 4 divisions in Scotland, alongside the English Premier League and Football League, as well as the top 3 non-league divisions in England. This comprehensive evaluation is based on 226 distinct touch points, providing a robust framework for assessing club management and operations. The Fair Game Index aims to shed light on which clubs are setting the standard for excellence in modern-day football, particularly looking at financial sustainability, good governance, fan engagement, and equality standards. With the inclusion of Scottish clubs, supporters will soon discover how their teams stack up compared with others. In the past, Fair Game Index findings have exploited clubs who were not paying staff a reasonable wage, and they have also championed for sufficiently run clubs to receive a bigger share of TV and sponsorship earnings. Report by Robbie Hanratty. Evening Times Sport, August 21. Celtic in talks over goal-scoring midfielder. Report by Ewan Payton. Celtic are seriously interested in a move for a promising Polish attacking midfielder, according to a report. Mateusz Bogusz of LAFC is said to be attracting interest from the Scottish Premiership champions. Media outlet Miski PL claim talks between the Hoops and the MLS side are underway to thrash out a transfer fee. It is said that negotiations over a fee for the 22-year-old will be around the 8 to 10 million euros mark. It's reported that while discussions between the clubs have commenced, the conclusion of any potential deal is still some way off. The report says that personal terms between Celtic and the player will not be an issue. Bogusz is an attacking midfielder from Poland, currently playing for LAFC in the United States. He can also play as a centre forward. He scored 20 goals during his 74 appearances for the MLS club, while providing 14 assists. He played for UD Ibiza in La Liga 2 previously, while he also made 3 appearances for Leeds United. It's believed that the midfielder is versatile, and one of his greatest strengths is shots from distance, which could prove handy in Scotland. Brendan Rodgers is still looking to bolster his squad ahead of the August transfer deadline, especially with Matt O'Reilly's imminent £25 million departure for Brighton. Report by Ewan Payton. Evening Times Sport, August 21. Glasgow to host trials for next generation of Olympians. Report by Mark McDougall. The search is underway for the next generation of Olympic athletes, with trials and heats to be held in Glasgow ahead of the 2028 Games in Los Angeles. Team Great Britain and Northern Ireland picked up 65 medals at the Paris Olympics this year, with 14 gold, 22 silver and 29 bronze, and attention has already turned to the next event in 4 years. UK Sport, the nation's high-performance sports agency, has now launched a campaign to identify future Olympic or Paralympic stars from across the nation. Find Your Greatness will target active and sport 16 to 24-year-olds in the UK, including those with physical, visual or intellectual impairments. Applications for the campaign are open until October 14, and they will be coming to Glasgow in search of the next stars. A recent survey showed 39% of Brits aged 18 to 24 believe they could make Team GB at the LA Games in 2028, and this is now an opportunity for them to make it a reality. Previous UK sport athlete recruitment campaigns have brought out huge success stories across the Olympics and Paralympics, including rowing champion Helen Glover, skeleton gold medalist Lizzie Yarnold, taekwondo medalist Lauren Williams, and para-canoe double champion Emma Wicks. The campaign is seeking young athletes in a range of disciplines, including skeleton, cycling, rowing, modern pentathlon, weightlifting, climbing, shooting, volleyball, handball, and all para-sports. Regional testing for Olympic sports will come to Glasgow in October, November and December, while Paralympic testing is scheduled to take place in October, November and February. Dame Catherine Granger, Chair of UK Sport, commented, "In my time as both an athlete and as Chair of UK Sport, I have been fortunate to witness the impact of athlete recruitment campaigns in discovering stars of the future, but also the wider value and skill sets it can bring to participants. The UK is a successful Olympic and Paralympic nation, and it is through athlete recruitment campaigns like Find Your Greatness that we can stay relevant on the global stage. This campaign goes right to the heart of communities, providing opportunities for youngsters who may not have had a chance to experience these sports before, and encourage teachers, mentors and coaches to identify extraordinary talent. They really have a chance to be the catalyst for the youngsters to apply. I cannot wait to see the talent that we unearth throughout this campaign, and to follow them on their journey to greatness. There is so much potential out there. We hope people have the drive and confidence to put themselves forward to see just how far they can go. The launch event was held in Salford and saw British athletes past and present tell their story of coming through these kind of programs and how they have competed at the top level to make their dreams of becoming an Olympian or Paralympian become a reality. Stephanie Peacock, Minister for Sport, Civil Society and Youth, said, Team GB and Paralympics GB performances this summer will no doubt help inspire young people to take up sport, and this government is working to improve opportunities so that our emerging talent has the best chance to succeed wherever they are from. Creating new accessible pathways to increase participation is vital to our nation's sporting future, so UK Sports Find Your Greatness programme is a fantastic chance for the next generation to try new sports and see if they can become the next Keely Hodgkinson or Johnny Peacock. Ellie Aldridge, Formula Kite Olympic gold medalist at Paris 2024, added, I owe so much of my success to athlete recruitment programs like Find Your Greatness. When I applied in 2018, I never could have guessed the path that I was starting out on. Now, here I am, having achieved gold Paris 2024. Every athlete has their own personal journey. Who knows how far you can go and where you might be in 6 years' time. But if you never take that leap of faith, you may never find out. Even if you don't make it to the podium in an Olympics, the experience is so valuable. You can learn so much about yourself and what potential you have. I could not recommend this program more, so I urge those that think they have the potential, or know others that do, to just go for it. Report by Mark McDougall. Evening Times Sport, August 21. Hunger for more Great Britain Olympic success. Dame Catherine Granger has sensed an incredible hunger among a new generation of athletes to write the next chapter of British Olympic success. Team GB returned from Paris this month with an overall haul of 65 medals, one better than Tokyo in 2021, and the fourth successive games stretching back to London 2012, in which they have exceeded 60. This achievement is tempered by the fact that the number of golds dropped to 14, the nation's lowest return for 20 years, and the team had to settle for a disappointing 7th place in the medal table. Yet Granger, chair of UK Sport, the government agency responsible for distributing funding to elite sports, believes the feel-good factor generated by the home games 12 years ago is still very much in evidence. The former rower, a 5-time Olympian herself and gold medalist in London, told the PA news agency, I'm not one of the people who find it in any way a bad result. You've got 65 medals across 18 sports, and that was the real aim. And the medal range was 50 to 70, so to end up with 65 is fantastic. There are only 3 nations that have produced over 60 medals in the last 4 games, and that's GB, USA, and China. To be in that group of nations is amazing for a relatively small country. In 2012, there was such an incredible build-up to the home games, and there was a sense of, once we've done that, will we be finished with sport? Then what you've seen is this incredible hunger and desire for a very new generation of athletes to build their own story and to write another chapter and to see there's more success to come. The ambition is still there. You never think we're going to finish this golden period of sport because it just keeps continuing. Evening Times Sport, August 21. The Man City man with huge role in Kyogo transfer link. Report by Murray Strachan. Celtic striker Kyogo Furuhashi was linked online with a move to reigning English Premier League champions Manchester City this morning. Discussed by Fabrizio Romano on social media platform X, formerly Twitter, the renowned transfer guru tipped his hat to Hugh Murray and The Athletic's Sam Lee for uncovering the link in the process. According to Romano, City are keen to bring midfielder Ilkay Gundogan back to the club from Barcelona before solidifying plans, but one of Pep Guardiola's right-hand men could have a crucial part to play in this process. Juan Manuel Lillo. Who is Juan Manuel Lillo? Beginning his career at now second-tier side CD Mirandes in 1988, Lillo moved around multiple jobs in Spain, including stints at some of their most historic clubs, such as Real Oviedo and Real Sociedad. Following a brief stint in Colombia and being assistant manager of the Chilean national team, he joined Vissel Kobe of Japan in October 2018. When Juanmo Lillo joined Vissel Kobe, he linked up with then newly signed 23-year-old forward Kyogo Furuhashi. Under Lillo in his 6 months as manager, Kyogo made 13 appearances and scored 5 and assisted 5, which is a brilliant return and showed the quality we now see at Celtic. Lillo then went on to join Manchester City as assistant manager to Pep Guardiola in 2020, who he worked with for nearly 200 games. Celtic are unlikely to welcome interest for the Japanese striker, who has played such an important role in the club's recent successes since signing at Parkhead in the summer of 2021. From Manchester City's perspective, following the sale of Julian Alvarez to Atletico Madrid this summer for £82 million, the Etihad side have been in the market for a backup striker. The reports have suggested that Kyogo is one of their top 2 targets, with a second player as yet unnamed. Evening Times Sport, August 21. Neil Lennon sacked by Rapid Bucharest. Report by David Irwin. Neil Lennon has been sacked by Rapid Bucharest after just 3 months in charge. The former Celtic boss was appointed as manager of the Romanian club in May, but has been relieved of his duties after a winless spell. The 53-year-old Lennon took the Rapid Bucharest job after more than a year out of the dugout. However, the spell in Romania has been difficult for Lennon, with his side unable to win any of his 6 matches in charge. Rapid drew 5 times and lost once in the league this season since Lennon's arrival at the club. A club statement confirmed, Rapid parted company with Northern Irish coach Neil Lennon today, after only 6 stages of the current Romanian Superliga season. Arriving this summer, Neil Lennon did not manage to get any official victory on the bench of Rapid, finishing 5 times in a tie and losing 1 match. Along with Neil, other members of his staff will also leave: Ian Brunskill, Andrew Liddell, Kyriakos Televantos. We thank him for all his dedication and energy on the Rapid bench, especially since he has been through difficult times lately, and we wish him much success in the future. Report by David Irvin. Evening Times Sport, August 21. Rangers linked with versatile attacker and Croatian star. Report by Ewan Payton. Rangers have been linked with a move for Croatia international Josip Brekalo. The 26-year-old plays for Fiorentina, but spent last season on loan at Hajduk Split in his homeland. Seemingly considered to be down the pecking order at the Serie A side, with 2 years left on his deal, now it seems the optimum time for the Italian to sell the attacker. Brekalo can play on either wing or comfortably in the number 10 position. He is a former teammate of former Gers defender Nicola Katic, and according to Italian journalist Nicola Schira, Philippe Clement and his recruitment staff have inquired about the one-time £8.5 million player. He wrote on social media, Rangers have asked for information on Brekalo, who could leave Fiorentina in the next few days. It is not yet clear whether any potential move would be a loan deal with an option to buy or a permanent transfer. Brekalo has 35 caps to his name for his country, scoring on 4 occasions. Meanwhile, nobody in Scottish football, not even their most wildly optimistic supporter, is giving Rangers a prayer of enjoying a successful 24-25 campaign at the present moment. Cyril Dessers was close to Rangers' transfer exit, it is stated, but that was until he shut down a move to Atlanta United. The 29-year-old divides opinion among fans, but scored 22 goals in all competitions during his debut season in Scotland last term. The Nigeria international has already notched 3 this season and has been the clear number 9 for Clermont. Earlier this summer, it was speculated that Dessers could swap the Scottish Premiership for PAOK in Greece. However, this amounted to nothing in the end. Now, though, it has become apparent that Dessers rejected a transfer to the MLS during the summer. Italian journalist Luca Bendoni claims a move to Atlanta United was on the cards. It is said the American side and the Ibrox club held discussions over a potential £4.6 million deal. But that was all stopped when the player stepped in. Dessers was signed by Michael Beale last summer for £4.5 million. Evening Times Sport, August 22. Archives reveal Northern Ireland minister's letter to Neil Lennon after death threats. Report by Jodie Harrison. A Northern Irish Unionist minister wrote directly to Neil Lennon in 2002 after the then Celtic player had received a death threat hours ahead of playing for his home country. The letter from then Culture, Arts and Leisure DCAL Minister Michael McGimpsey said there must be no hiding place for those responsible, and that Lennon had displayed remarkable courage after he had been jeered by fans at Windsor Park the previous year. The correspondence is contained in a Culture, Arts and Leisure DCAL file called Sectarianism in Sport, which is among newly released documents at the Public Record Office in Belfast. Lennon was chosen by then Northern Ireland manager Sammy McIlroy to captain the side in a friendly against Cyprus at Windsor Park in 2002. A death threat was phoned into the BBC in the hours leading up to the game, leading to Lennon not taking to the field that night and ultimately deciding not to play international football again. The previous year, Lennon had been booed by elements in the crowd at Windsor Park when playing for Northern Ireland. Mr. McGimpsey sent his letter to Lennon at Celtic Football Club on September 4, 2002. He said, "I have just returned to my office today, but during my absence, I followed closely the events in Northern Ireland which surrounded your decision to retire from international football. When I first heard the news that someone should make such a threat against a sportsman, I was absolutely appalled. Just as there is no place in society for anyone who threatens the life of an individual, neither is there a place in sport who single out a player for abuse because of his religion or the club he plays for. I condemn totally the actions of those who do so and have already called on anyone with any knowledge of the source of the threat against you to pass the information on to the police immediately. There must be no hiding place for these people." Mr. McGimpsey added, "Last year you displayed remarkable courage when you decided to continue playing for Northern Ireland after that disgraceful episode at Windsor Park, and after this latest outrage, I respect and fully appreciate your reasons for now deciding to bow out of international football. Most people in the position in which you have found yourself that day would have done the same. Captaining your country for the first time would have been a very proud and memorable occasion for you, and an honour which would have been fully merited." Mr. McGimpsey said the door remained open for Lennon to return to international football. The file also contains minutes of a meeting held on September 10, 1999, to discuss sectarian chanting which had marred a football match between Northern Ireland and France at Windsor Park. The meeting was attended by civil servants as well as representatives of the Irish Football Association (IFA) and Belfast City Council. The minute states, "Sectarian chanting blighted what otherwise would have been an enjoyable sporting event. It is a major problem indulged in by the vast majority of fans in the West Stand, particularly those visiting from a distance, for example, Limavady Supporters Club." On a more positive note, some of the local supporters clubs, for example Shankill, are now wishing to disassociate themselves from this type of behaviour. The Irish FA is anxious to resolve this issue, but see it as being more symptomatic of Northern Ireland in general, rather than of football in particular. However, it was recognised that the location of Windsor Park, in an area where lawyers' flags and emblems were displayed in abundance, did not create the atmosphere of a neutral venue for major international matches, and that this could be resolved by the provision of a national stadium for Northern Ireland. Report by Jody Harrison. Evening Times Sport, August 22. Shanklin tipped for Celtic if Kyogo moves. Report by James McLaughlin. Bookies reckon Hearts striker Lawrence Shanklin is the man most likely to replace Celtic talisman Kyogo Furuhashi should the Japanese depart the club. Scottish football was rocked yesterday with the news Manchester City boss Pep Guardiola has a two-man shortlist for a number 2 striker slot at the Premier League champions, and Kyogo is one of the names. The Parkhead club would only be prepared to let the 29-year-old leave for around £20 million, but that's not a sum that will faze cash-rich City. And while Brendan Rodgers has already splashed out £8.5 million to secure Adam Idah from Norwich, there is no doubting Kyogo's departure would prompt further spending. Bookies feel Scotland striker Shanklin, who Rodgers has publicly admired in the past, is the most likely replacement should the deal with City go through. Also in the running is out in the cold Chelsea star Raheem Sterling, whom Rodgers managed during his spell at Liverpool. Shane Orton, head of betting PR news at Bet Ideas, said Hearts goal machine Lawrence Shanklin is the market leader at 2-1, and that would cause quite the stir if the Hearts man swapped Tynecastle for Celtic Park. Wolves frontman Hang Hee Chan at 5-1 had a successful last term at Wolves, and he would likely be a very popular acquisition. Ireland international and free agent Aaron Connolly at 61 was once a hot prospect when he was at Brighton, and he could move to the SPL and get his career back on track. Celtic fans can likely only dream about Raheem Sterling at 14-1 and Anthony Marshall 21 as wage demands surely rule this out. Report by James McLaughlin. Evening Times Sport, August 22. Oscar Cortes delivers welcome Rangers injury update. Report by Stuart Wilson. Rangers midfielder Oscar Cortes has posted training images of himself back on the grass following injury on the opening day of the Scottish Premiership. After picking up a first-half knock during Rangers' goalless season opener against Hearts at Tynecastle, the 20-year-old was forced off early in the second period. Afterwards, Rangers manager Philippe Clement said the Colombian was likely to be ruled out of contention for 4 or 5 weeks, which caused the winger to miss the club's Champions League qualifiers against Dynamo Kiev. At the time, Clement confirmed that Cortes had been checked over at half-time during that match, having initially pulled up towards the end of the first 45, but felt able to carry on. Today, less than 3 weeks since picking up the knock, Cortes is back on the grass. Speaking after Cortes' injury, manager Clement said he had a scan and he will be out for around 4 or 5 weeks. It was a really unlucky fall and his knee was twisted. Of course it's a hard blow for him, for the team, because he was coming back and he's going to become an important player for the future. Report by Stuart Wilson. Evening Times Sport, August 22. Romanian says Lennon won medals because Rangers did not exist. Report by Mark Walker. Former Dynamo Bucharest boss and Romania number 2 Eugene Nigo has claimed Neil Lennon only won trophies at Celtic because Rangers did not exist. Lennon left Rapid Bucharest this week after just 92 days, following 5 draws and a defeat in his first 6 league games as manager. The former Celtic player and manager has come under heavy fire in Romania for his stint at the club, with Rapid moving quickly to replace him with former player and boss Marius Sumudica and veteran managerian stalwart Nigo, who has been in charge of 8 clubs in Romania, including Cluj and Universitatea Craiova, and also had a stint in Cyprus with Aris Limassol, slaughtered the Northern Irishman, who won 10 trophies as Hoops boss. He said, "I predicted Lennon would not last 4 games because he knows nothing about Romanian football. He actually managed 6. Look, hats off to him for the trophies he won in his career. But remember, he won them when Rangers did not exist. Celtic were playing alone in the Scottish League. He was the manager of Omonia Nicosia before he came to Rapid, and I played there during my career. I was told by a former colleague of mine that they were all disappointed with what happened there while Lennon was the manager. Rapid were playing so poorly under him. In fact, I have not seen Rapid playing so poorly for a long time." Report by Mark Walker. Evening Times Sport, August 22. Rangers Academy graduate targets first team run. Report by Matthew Lindsay. Lazy but persistent accusations that modern-day footballers are mercenaries who are more concerned with the health of their bank balances than the fortunes of the clubs which are paying their wages could never be levelled at Robbie Fraser. "Rangers runs through me," said Fraser, the promising left-back who is hoping to get an extended run in the Ibrox first team in the coming weeks, while Ridvan Yilmaz is sidelined by injury. "All of my family, everybody I know really, are supporters. It began where I grew up in my street. I had a season ticket when I was younger. To say I'm a Rangers first-team player makes me so proud. Not many people can take that away from me. To be on the pitch with my family cheering me on in the stands makes it even sweeter." Yet the Glasgow-born defender, who replaced Rabbi Matondo in the second half of the Premier Sports Cup victory over St Johnstone at Hampden last Saturday evening, has no intentions of downing tools now that he has realised his lifelong dream. Far from it. He is determined to become a regular starter at Rangers and help the side he grew up cheering on from the stands to silence their doubters and savour success. Said Fraser, "I was 7 years old when I joined. It's a crazy amount of time I've been here. I've been through everything at the club. I've worked incredibly hard every day working on my craft. I'm at the top of the pile now, so hopefully I can stay there. I don't want to be known as the younger one. I want to try and establish myself in the first team. I'll try and kick on from here. I can actually remember my first day 14 years ago. I used to be quite a nervous, shy boy. I didn't really take to being around the other players that much. but I feel I've come out of my shell now. It's a huge step up. I've been training with the first team lads for a while, so you do get to come to terms with it more. Getting some minutes on the pitch definitely helps. I feel really good, and I feel a part of it now. It's a completely different side of things. Of course you're working hard in the academy, but when you make that jump it's a completely different ball game, but I feel I'm capable of doing it. The 21-year-old is grateful to everyone at Hawkenhowley who has helped him to develop as a player and progress through the youth ranks since he first arrived at Rangers way back in 2010. And he said, "There's several coaches, too many to name throughout the years, who have influenced me. But Brian Gilmore, who in the first team now, is one. He worked in the academy, so for him to come up and for me to come up with him has been good. It's really nice to have that relationship. But there's loads of coaches, Carl McMaster, David McCallum, Malky Thompson, who have helped. Even when I was younger, Greg Stott and guys like that. So there's been loads of top coaches." However, Fraser is hopeful that working under Philippe Clement, who brought through gifted club kids at the clubs he has managed in Belgium and France, and who gave winger Ross McCausland extensive game time last term, will prove beneficial to him. He was certainly encouraged when Clement, who handed him his Rangers debut in a league game against Dundee back in May, and then gave him an extension to his contract this summer that keeps him in Govan until 2026, revealed he did not intend to bring in another left-back when Yilmaz was ruled out for up to 6 weeks. That is partially due to the lack of funds which are available to him to strengthen his squad in the transfer market, but it also suggests that he has faith in the capabilities of his protege. Said Fraser, "It's fantastic to hear. It's exactly what you want. I'm working every day to try and capitalise on any moments I can get. Of course Ridvan is a great player and the team will miss him, but it's an opportunity for me to step in and try and show what I can do. You work every day for moments, and if any moments come, you have to be ready. The gaffer talks about it all the time, that he can show faith in young players, so I have to be on my toes. He's really positive towards me, talks to me, and he really sees a bright future for me. He just says, keep doing what I'm doing. He doesn't want me to change, keep the same attitude, keep the same work ethic, because he can see the quality in the pitch from me, and that's nice to hear. He's not necessarily told me I'm going to get X amount of games, but he just said to keep doing what I'm doing, that opportunities will arise, just like on Saturday night against St Johnstone. I just need to be patient. I know there are some top players around my position. It's understandable that I might not get the minutes I want, but I'm working in a great environment, and I can only see myself getting better. The chances of Rangers, who are playing their home games at Hampden at the moment, due to delays to the redevelopment work on the Copland stand at Ibrox, challenging Celtic for the William Hill Premiership, or lifting the Premier Sports Cup and Scottish Gas Scottish Cup this season, have been written off by many. But there is no prospect of Robbie Fraser, who is hoping to get the nod from Clement when Ross County visit Florida this weekend, listening to the naysayers and not giving his absolute all for his beloved Ibrox club whenever he gets on the pitch. Report by Matthew Lindsay. Evening Times Sport, August 22. Scotland captain Robertson, pain-free now. Report by Carol Markham. Liverpool defender Andy Robertson says he is pain-free for the first time in 5 months. The 30-year-old, who dislocated a shoulder on international duty in October, sustained an ankle ligament injury playing for Scotland again in March, and found things difficult as the domestic season moved towards its conclusion, before also featuring at Euro 2024. Robertson also had a minor problem over the summer, which restricted him to only 60 minutes in pre-season, when he started the friendly against Seville despite travelling to America with the squad. Said Robertson, who played 69 minutes of Saturday's victory at Ipswich. I was playing in pain from March onwards, and obviously it was a really important time for the club, and then a really important time for my country. I hoped that the 3 weeks off over the summer would have settled things down, but it didn't, and I needed a wee bit longer. So I managed to get my fitness up to a really good level in terms of not being with the team, which was hugely frustrating. But I made sure I was in America, in every team meeting, asking the coaches questions, things like that, and trying to learn even when I could not be on the pitch. I knew that would put me in the best possible shape when I was on the pitch. I am pain-free for the first time in 5 months, which is always positive, so long may it continue. Obviously, coming off towards the end against Ipswich, I started to get a little bit tired, which is normal, but I felt good, and I feel good. Liverpool's 22-year-old centre-back Sepp van den Berg, who spent last season on loan at Mainz, is understood to be attracting attention from Bundesliga champions Bayer Leverkusen and Brentford, with the club looking for £20 million for the defender. Report by Carol Markham. Evening Times Sport, August 22. St Mirren sign Phillips on loan. Report by David Irvin. St Mirren have completed the signing of Killian Phillips from Crystal Palace. The 22-year-old midfielder moves to Paisley on an initial season-long loan, with St Mirren holding an obligation to buy the player next summer. Phillips will then sign a deal until the summer of 2026, with the club holding an option to extend the deal by a further 12 months. I'm buzzing, said Phillips, after finalising a return to Scotland following a loan at Aberdeen last season. I spoke to the gaffer, and he sold the club to me. He told me about all the players that have come through St Mirren, and how he likes to develop players. I played here last season and the ground was rocking. I know how passionate the fans are up here, and how good the standard is, so it was something I wanted to play in again. I am a box-to-box midfielder, and I'll always give 100%. It's been a long summer, but I'm delighted this deal is done and can't wait to get going. St Mirren boss Stephen Robinson has been tracking Phillips for an extended period and struck a deal with a number of injuries in midfield as Mark O'Hara, Caelan Boyd-Munns and Dennis Adeniran struggle for fitness. Said Robinson, Killian is somebody we have looked for a while. He needs a home and somewhere to settle. He's still a young boy finding his way in his career, and we have to give him that home. He will improve with the coaching, but he has the physical attributes. He's a big boy, he can run, and he'll hopefully help provide goals in the team as well. With a couple of bumps and knocks in the midfield, it's important we strengthen our numbers in there. Report by David Irvin. Evening Times Sport, August 23. Ex-Celt says European goal against Kilmarnock could seal it. Report by Mark Walker. Former Celtic star Moi Elyounoussi insists their injury time goal against Kilmarnock will make all the difference. Killie lost in Denmark in the play-off first leg for the Europa Conference League group stages to FC Copenhagen in a 2-0 defeat, with Rasmus Falk's strike coming in the 6th minute of injury time. And Norway international Elyounoussi, who had 2 loan spells at Celtic, reckons that could be the key. He said, "It was very important to get that second goal. There is a big difference between 2-0 and 1-0. It was a good win with lots of energy, but it was just the first leg. We still have a game in Scotland." And his view was echoed by goal hero Falk, who said, "There is a huge difference. I am really happy to have scored that second goal. We have a difficult away game in Scotland to come, but there is no doubt the second goal gives us more peace of mind. But that won't change anything in our mindset. We have to go to Scotland to win the game. I thought we played well in the second half in particular." Report by Mark Walker. Evening Times Sport, August 23. Golf. Hull leads the way as wind wreaks havoc at St Andrews. Report by Nick Roger. Well, Mother Nature certainly got her bellows going at St Andrews. It was so boisterous and gusty over the old course on day 1 of the AIG Women's Open. Even the laptops of the golf writers had to be tethered to the media centre desk with guy ropes. Old Bob Dylan may have croaked on about answers blowing in the wind, but the guitar-playing Scot, Gemma Driver, had some questions too. "I don't know how it was playable, to be honest," admitted the LGA Tour winner after a torrid 79 that was rent asunder by the 40 miles per hour blasts. "We were on 11, our second hole, and our balls were moving. My ball moved twice before I putted." Driver's assault may have been blown off course, but others revelled in the wuthering examination. It was a punishing yet gratifying exercise that was a bit like a golfing 50 Shades of Grey. I looked out of my hotel window at 5 a.m. It was blowing a gale, and I was like, "That's great," grinned the 2018 AIG Women's Open champion Georgia Hall after a spirited 1-under-71, which finished with a flourish of an eagle 2 on her closing hole. I played in America a lot, and to me it's more of a wooden form of golf. This is natural, raw golf. China's Ruoning Yin certainly looked at home in it. At one point, after 3 birdies in a row on her inward half, she was 6 under, and on course to assemble one of the truly great Old Course rounds. A couple of late bogeys left her with a 4 under 68, but it was still a splendid effort to the toughest of the conditions. That score stood alone at the top for yonks until England's Charlie Hull marched in at about 7:30 p.m. with a 67 to pinch the lead during a flurry of late activity in the fading light of the old grey tune. The 28-year-old, who was runner-up in the championship last season, manoeuvred herself into a tie at the top with a birdie on the 15th, before coming close to holing her second shot with a dinky pitch on the last. Her 6-footer for a birdie gave her the outright lead at the end of an exhausting round that had taken over 6 hours and included a thumb-twiddling 30-minute wait on the 11th tee. Hull took it all in her laid-back stride. I had a bet with my caddie and I said, I reckon it'll take 6.5, smiled Hull. He said, no way, 5 hours 30. I was right. As for the aforementioned yin, well, forget. I am running into the wind. Yin embraced it. I tried to make the wind my friend, said the 21-year-old, who became just the second golfer from China to win a major when she landed the Women's PGA Championship last season. With all the fancy gadgets and gizmos that are available these days, Yin revealed that she regularly plays the old course on a simulator. It's quite different playing it in person, she chuckled. The highlight of Yin's round was undoubtedly her birdie on the formidable road hole 17th, where she hit a superbly executed 7-iron into 5 feet and rolled in the putt. My favourite birdie of the year, she added with a smile that was bigger than some of the old course greens. Yin for the road hole. She certainly deserves something to toast a good day's work. It was a good day too for the world number 1 Nelly Korda, who was in the same group as Hull and conjured a late surge to join Yin on the 4-under mark as the wind finally began to ease. Korda, who won 6 titles in 7 starts during an astonishing run earlier in the season, made a cracker of a birdie on the 17th when she fired a controlled 5-iron into 7 feet. Another gain on the last gilded lily. The last 3-4 holes, the wind died down, and I was able to do a little bit more aggressive, said the 26-year-old. The strength of the wind may have given Jenny Shin some early heebie-jeebies, but the Korean showed her resolve with a 69, which included an eagle on the 14th, and left her in a logjam on 3 under. She said of that opening shot, the ball was wobbling on the tee, and a lot of us were thinking, how are we going to play? Lilia Vu, the defending champion, was more than happy with her 3 under 69, while Scottish veteran Katrina Matthew, making her final AIG Women's Open appearance, signed for a 77. There's always hope until Friday and all the scores are in, she said, of her chances of making the cut. Report by Nick Roger. Evening Times Sport, August 23. Scottish cap poised for Premier League exit and Serie A switch. Report by Chris Jack. Billy Gilmour is set to clinch a big money move to Italy after Napoli stepped up their pursuit of the Scotland midfielder. Boss Antonio Conte has made Gilmour one of his main targets this summer as he seeks to strengthen his squad for the new Serie A campaign. An initial £8 million bid was rejected by Brighton last month, but it is understood that Napoli have now returned to the negotiating table and are poised to complete a deal that will see Gilmour reunited with Conte at the Italian Giants. Gilmour will finalise a long-term deal and is expected to put pen to paper at the Diego Armando Maradona Stadium in the coming days as he follows the likes of Lewis Ferguson, Aaron Hickey and Josh Doig in making the move to the Italian top flight. Conte worked with Gilmour as he progressed through the ranks with Chelsea following his move from Rangers as a 16-year-old, and the former Ibrox kid will now learn from Conte once again after finding himself out of favour at Brighton this summer. The appointment of Fabian Herzl as manager has forced Gilmour, who has also had a loan spell at Norwich City, to look elsewhere in search of regular football this term, and he will now play an integral part in Napoli's bid to regain the Serie A title after a difficult campaign that saw them have 3 different managers in the dugout. Conte said after his appointment this summer, "Napoli is a place of global importance. I am happy and excited at the idea of sitting on the blue bench. I can certainly promise one thing. I will do my utmost for the growth of the team and the club. My commitment, together with that of my staff, will be total." Report by Chris Jack.
From the Glasgow Times, Saturday the 24th of August, from the sports section, Scott tipped to take centre stage as St Pauli return to Bundesliga. Article written by chief football writer Matthew Lindsay. Several Scottish footballers have graced the Bundesliga since Vincent Meney, the Dortmund-born midfielder who spent just shy of 3 seasons at Cologne, became the first to do so back in 1983. Mark McGee, Hamburg, Scott Booth, Paul Lambert and Murdo McLeod, all Borussia Dortmund, Alan McInally, Bayern Munich, Brian O'Neill, Wolfsburg, Oliver Burke, RB Leipzig and Werder Bremen, and Fraser Hornby, Darmstadt 98 have all featured in the German top flight. Still, it is something of a rarity for a tartan export to play in a league which is renowned, respected and revered across the globe. Could former Dundee United youth Scott Banks become the latest Scot to distinguish himself in the Bundesliga in the 2024-25 season? Watch this space. He is set to turn out for promoted St Pauli and much is expected of him. Banks, who was farmed out to Clyde when he was a kid at United and who had temporary stints with Alloa Athletic and Dunfermline Athletic after he signed for Crystal Palace 4 years ago, hardly featured during a loan spell with the world-famous Hamburg outfit last term. He suffered an anterior cruciate ligament injury after just a handful of appearances and was sidelined for 8.5 months as a consequence, but he returned to action in their final game against Wehen Wiesbaden away in May and set up a late goal which ultimately clinched the second-tier title within minutes of taking to the field. It is fair to say St Pauli were impressed. They signed the €22 permanently for €400,000 at the start of last month. There are high hopes for the Linlithgow-born winger at the Millantor Stadium ahead of their first Bundesliga game in 13 years against Heidenheim at home tomorrow afternoon. Scott will 100% be a part of things, said Rupert Fabig, the St Pauli reporter for the Hamburger Abendblatt newspaper. He made a positive impact last season when he was on loan for Crystal Palace before tearing his ACL. The club, instead of letting the loan run out and never seeing the guy again, asked him to stay in Hamburg to do his rehab. And this summer they went out and bought him because they really believe in him, really like him. I think that says a lot about how much they like him, that they're prepared to buy him after so few games. He's training again now and is fully fit. They are very careful about the way they are playing him because of the length of time that he was out, but I expect him to play regularly. He continued, he's a winger, and wingers were very important in the 3-4-3 system the former manager Fabian Hürzeler, who joined Brighton back in June, used last season. But now that Alexander Blessin has taken over, they use a 3-5-2 formation, and they don't really have wingers. The wingers are struggling to get into the starting lineup, but Blessin wants to be flexible, wants his side to be able to adapt and change to 3-4-3 during games also. So I think Scott will come off the bench, in the opening games at least. I can say nothing bad about him at all. He's a nice guy, a fun guy, a very open guy off the pitch. On the pitch, he has always made an impression wherever he has played. The St Pauli fans certainly like him a lot. Of course, after Euro 2024, every German likes Scots just now. The 6-figure fee, which it took the 2 Bundesliga champions to secure bank services on a permanent contract, is small beer by German standards, as is their total €1.7 million outlay on new players this summer. To put that figure into context, defending champions Bayer Leverkusen have spent €53 million, Bayern Munich €142 million, Borussia Dortmund €80 million, RB Leipzig €41 million, Stuttgart €64 million and Wolfsburg €30 million. St. Pauli, who have an association with Celtic which dates back to the 1990s, are better known for their colourful fan culture, their left-wing political leanings, their social conscience and their punk ethos than for their sporting achievements. Their stays in the elite division have often been fleeting in the past. That, though, was then, and this is now. Fabig explains that an increased focus on commercialism and a shrewd recruitment policy underpinned their success last term. He is quietly confident they can hold their own in the Bundesliga this time around and avoid relegation. There is definitely optimism along with great excitement among the fans, he said. Last time they got up, they only spent a season in the top flight. They dropped back down right away. But things have changed a lot since then. A new president, Oki Gothklich, took over back in 2014 and changed their approach a little bit. In the 104 years they have been in existence before that, they had only made €3 million from the sale of players. In the last 10 years they have made €30 million from the sale of players. They are concentrating much more on revenue than they did before. They are really good at marketing now. They are much more than a football club. Politically, they are a very left-orientated club. So they attract many people, even those who are not football fans, who think along the same lines and respect their core values. They buy their merchandise. They purchase tickets. They want to become members of the club. St. Pauli are making so much more money than they were 10 years ago and, financially, they're very solid as a result. Fabi continued, they appointed Andres Bornemann as their sporting director 5 years ago, and he's a really smart guy. He is always looking to sign players on loan or bring in free transfers. He is not a guy who wants to spend much money, but he always manages to put a team in place which performs better than maybe by rights they should. Yes, Hertzler going was a big loss. He's at Brighton now for a reason, because he's a great manager. He had a very effective system and was an excellent communicator. He was a big factor in the success which his side had enjoyed, but it wasn't just down to him. Blessing fits really well into the club. He likes more of a Geigen pressing style. They play high up the park, try to get the ball back as soon as possible. The players have had to adjust a little bit, and I think it will take a few weeks until they are fully committed to the new system. But when they are, I'm sure they will do well. They have the quality they need and should be able to stay in the league. It will be close because we don't have that many bad teams in the Bundesliga. But Holstein Kiel, the other team that got promoted, are not as good as St. Pauli. Heidenheim lost many players this summer, and Bochum will struggle as well. I think they will survive. And the article was written by Matthew Lindsay and read by me, Ian McKenna.
Evening Times Sport, August 26. Women's Open Golf. Lydia Ko adds silverware at St Andrews. Report by Nick Roger. It has not been a bad couple of weeks for Lydia Ko. A gold medal at the Olympics and now a silver lining in St Andrews. At one point of the final day of the AIG Women's Open here at the Old Course, things were so tight at the top, you just about needed the jaws of life to prize the leading pack apart. It was Ko who was a class apart, though. A birdie on her final hole in a 3 under 69 gave her the clubhouse lead at 7 under. There was a spell of thumb twiddling and nail nibbling to endure as she waited on the final groups to finish. That wait was worth it. Ko eventually won by 2 shots from a posse that included the defending champion Lilia Vu, the world number 1 Nelly Korda, Jie Shin and Ruoning Yin. It was a case of what might have been for those who came up short. Korda had been 2 shots clear with 5 to play, until a ruinous double bogey on the 14th opened the door for Ko. Vu, meanwhile, had a chance to force a play-off with a birdie opportunity in the last, but ended up 3-putting. It was all systems go. On the kind of dour day in the old grey tour, that makes you wonder what the point of summer is. Even the sun came out for the prize-giving ceremony to add some sparkle to Coe's shimmering accomplishment. This was the third major victory of a glory-laden trailblazing career for Coe. It's taken her a while to reach that figure, mind you. Her last one was in 2016, and seems so long ago you half expect the footage of that triumph to be housed in the dusty vaults of the National Film Registry. In that 8.5-year spell, Coe has posted 11 top 10s, including 5 top 3s in the majors. Good things come to those who wait. It feels like it was such a long time ago, said the 27-year-old, after finally bridging that major championship title gap. I've had my fair share of ups and downs between 2015, 2016 to 2024. A lot of things have happened. When things are going well, it's hard to think about when you're not playing well, because all you're really doing is just enjoying that moment. And on the other hand, when things are not going well, you feel you're never going to get out of that lull. But heading into the weekend here, I was in contention and I said, how is it possible for me to win the AIG Women's Open? I've had the most Cinderella-like story these past few weeks, and this is almost too good to be true. The final day featured plenty of drama. It was a long day too. The last group, for instance, took almost 2.5 hours to reach the turn, as affairs moved along with about as much pace as a narrow boat on the Norfolk Broads. The ebb, flow, nip and tuck at the sharp end, though, was fascinating, as the championship unravelled down the stretch. Korda, aiming for her second major win of 2024, looked to be in control as she picked up 3 birdies in 4 holes around the turn. It all went to pot on the 14th, however, with a sloppy double bogey which was greeted by astonished gasps from those peering on. At one stage, there were 4 players locked on the 6-under mark. Coe was right in it when she cracked a bold drive off the fairway en route to a birdie on 14, but her first bogey of the day on the next kept it toing and froing going. Vu saw a birdie chance on 15 lip out as the destination of the title remained in the balance, while Coe produced a brilliant approach to the treacherous 17th as the rain hammered down, and made a vital par to set up a final hole assault. Her birdie on the 18th pushed her to the cusp of glory. Korda's stumble to the finish continued when she leaked another shot on the 17th, while Shin, aiming to win the AIG Women's Open for the 3rd time, saw those ambitions thwarted with a damaging bogey at 15 and another at 17. It was Vu who became the one person who could spoil the Coe party. The 26-year-old holed a nerveless putt for par on the 17th to stay 1 shot behind, but she could not muster a birdie on the last to force a sudden death shootout, and the title belonged to Coe. The tears that poured out as she embraced her family could have caused flooding in the Silcan Burn. As Coe celebrated, there was joy too for English amateur Lottie Wood, who coped a thrilling week by sharing 10th place. It had been a super St Andrews Sunday, says Nick Roger. Evening Times Sport, August 26. Rugby. Finn Russell has no plans to retire soon. Report by Martin Macmillan. Finn Russell will prolong his playing career for as long as possible, with the role of Scotland's chief conductor at the 2027 World Cup firmly in his sights. Scotland's co-captain has been revitalised by a summer break after being stood down from the recent tour to North and South America in order to mentally refresh ahead of a season that he hopes ends with the Lions' expedition to Australia. It is a very different feeling to the 21-22 campaign, when he was burned out by the rugby treadmill, resulting in a loss of form, a weight gain of 8 kilos, and self-reflection over his international future. Now enjoying being in his best shape for a long time, particularly as a result of the demands of the birth of his second daughter in January, the dazzling Bath fly half views retirement as a distant prospect. Russell, at an event hosted by TNT Sports, said, "I'll be turning 35 during the next World Cup, and I'm definitely planning on making that tournament. I am 32 next month, and everyone is asking, what are you going to do after? But I'm thinking, I've still got 6 or 7 years to go. I've not got any notion of retiring anytime soon from either rugby or international rugby. I'm going to play as long as I can. Some players might have an idea that at 34 they will call it a day and get a job, but as long as I'm still enjoying it and playing well, there's no point in stopping. You get a bit of lows in sport, but the highs you can't get anywhere else. And having young kids now, I'd love for them to be old enough to remember some of my career. So I might have to play until I'm 45 if I have another one." Russell has been building a property portfolio in Scotland to provide financial security in retirement, funded by a Bath contract that earns him a reported £1 million every year. It has been money well spent by Bath, given that in his first season, Russell helped steer the club into the Gallagher Premiership final, where they lost narrowly to Northampton. When he does eventually hang up his boots, a typically maverick coaching role offers greatest appeal. "I just want to set everything up while I am playing, so I can finish when I want to, and not be forced into something," he said. "If I was to do coaching, I would like to be a consultant coach, helping younger 10s coming through. I have got a slightly different mindset to a lot of players. I can make a mistake, and as I've done it, I've forgotten about it pretty much. Trying to get that mindset across to others is something I would quite like, because a lot of young players go into their shell quite quickly."
That concludes this week's edition of the Glasgow Times Sports podcast. Please remember to subscribe to our channels, @Q and Review, and to tell your friends about our service.